I think that Mexico is a very good example, difficult example, about also the difficult relationships between the law and the mechanisms that the law includes in terms of direct democracy. We have a very complex law system in the matter of direct democratic mechanisms, but I can say that we have a complex and very good design to this mechanism. In the one side, in the law country, in the other sides, in the real country, we have a lot of problems, a lot of challenge and pitfalls. We are talking about reality where the people is very available to take part of this mechanism, like very strong citizenship that has the interest to go through this mechanism. In Mexico, we have, and I think in other countries, we have a problem with that. In general, there is an untrust relationship with all that the people know as public issues and political process. Also these ones. To call the people to participate not always have a good answer. We have, for instance, a percentage of participation in the participatory budget in Mexico that means more than $50 million, just around 3 or 4%. Why? There is a lot of answers. Some of that I'm going to try to explain. Well, this session is about the contents and the pitfalls of the direct democratic instrument, so I'm going to talk about that in the Mexican case. The first issue is that the contents of the direct democratic law in Mexico, I call it, is amorphous diversity. There's a lot of laws, a lot of mechanisms, and it's very different one by another, by each state. I'm going to tell why. And the main pitfall, I think, is the colonization of the government and political parties to the citizen participation and the use of this direct democratic. I mean, it's not clear that the use of these mechanisms are really democratic, direct democratic process involving the citizenship. In the most of the case, there are political and government control manipulating all the process, including all the phases that you are talking about. And that happens
in spite of
that we have a very strong institution to guarantee the good application of law. In front of that, we have to find an alternative. And I think that the alternative is continuous activate this process from below, governing institutions, I mean getting into the institution with the law to try to change the way that the mechanism has worked in the reality. And of course, demanding that the law has applied well. Okay, why do we have a diversity? Mexico is a federal republic. We have nationwide and federal legislation. It's different in several terms, but let me focus on one. The national law is always the same for all the federation. It applies in the same terms. for each of our 32 states, autonomous states, the national and the federal law have just bring a general basis than the local Congress traduce in a specific laws. So it's not always the same. Our problem is that the direct democratic mechanism are an federal legislation. That means that we have dispersal. How do you say dispersal?
Disperse.
A very huge different kinds of laws and mechanisms. We have the only, just in the federal level, we have a popular consultation, or as usually we said, referendums, and citizen initiative. Only, this is just two mechanisms. In the local legislation, we have 32 different constitutions, given instruments of direct democracy, and 28 of local laws. In total, we can list 33 different instruments in the citizen participatory laws with a very different characteristics. For instance, this is just the case of the Mexico City. We have a new political constitution, the first one in the history, and lists, well, the constitution in Mexico City has made a difference in democratic procedures and called the representative democracy, political parties and all, direct democracy and participatory democracy from the constitution. And in terms of direct democracy, our constitution lists 6 different mechanisms in the Article 25. By the way, I am very happy because Bernardo Valle is here with us. He is the electoral counselor in Mexico City. He's the president of citizen participation, so the man in charge to do it real in our city. Well, and this is about the diversity, but also the amorphous, the different way to rule it. Talking about citizen initiative and request for signatures, we have the highest requirement in Tabasco that asks for 10% of the voter lists. The lower one is in Morelos, another one state, that only asks for 1 person or more. It doesn't matter the percentage. So 1 person can start that mechanism. In the Mexico City has 0.13% of the list of voters. As you can see, there is a different, very, very huge spread.
Just for the terminology, this is about the agenda setting initiative. What is Mexico called citizen initiative?
Yes.
Just to be clear, it's not about a citizen initiative which comes at the end to a public road. It is the instrument which suggests to the parliament to have a certain issue.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, just present entire law or presenting a reform of parts of one of more laws. And this is a good point because we need to homogenize the terms of the concepts.
Always.
Because sometimes we are talking about one word that means very different contents and procedures in several countries. And talking about the popular or sitting consultation, as in Mexico we call it the referendum, also we have a difference. The highest requirement in Baja California asks for 2%, and the lowest in Jalisco 0.05% of the votes. The Mexico City has also 2%. Maybe the reason in that case that is similar or is the same in Baja California and Mexico City is because the federal law established 2% for the popular consultation.
This consultation is binding or not?
It's binding? It's binding? Yes, yes. It's binding for the start, the mechanism, but not for the results.
Okay.
The results you have another ones. So you need to, it's different, also percentage, to be okay with consultant, and then other one to be binding the results. Okay. Well, the pitfalls. We have to recognize it, that the context is very important in this matter. We have, let me see, just to be brief, a low quality democracy, very low quality democracy, and fragile democracy. The low intensity of profile of the citizenship.
Citizens.
Yeah, we have a wide social civic in Mexico, but no citizenship that is forming part of the political decision. They are reject to participate, and high social inequity. In that terms, it's very difficult to do anything that you can call democracy, but of course, the view of democracy. This is our context that allows to have a reality that then where the free and equal access for all the rights and the adequate performance of the institution is not. You have to fight for that. So even when citizen use from law is growing, there is a lot of initiatives for start and direct democracy mechanism, the different 33 different mechanisms in the Mexican local laws. There is still manipulation for governments and parties. I think that I call colonization. Maybe the laws themselves are more driving for the authorities to use, for the government and for the Congress to call to use this mechanism than the citizen. It's more difficult for the citizens to kind of reach the request than obviously the authorities. Well, two examples of the things that I am talking about, and my electoral counselor can say if I have a mistake. But in general terms, we have one of the main direct democracy mechanism in Mexico City is the participatory budget, biggest and complex, and etc. Well, more than 80% of the projects that suppose that the people is presenting in reality comes from influence, areas of influence from the local governments. Social groups that is very near to the party or to the government. So you can find that the same project, exactly the same project, is present in one place or another in the most of the case. On the other hand, you see that more than 50% of the projects that won in the consulting for the participatory budget is not fulfilled. And nothing happens, so almost nothing. Also, in Mexico City has a very new law for modern direct democracy, called Ley de Participación Ciudadana or Citizen Participation Law, that introduced in our system a kind of crazy things. It's just the consultation, call it public, that it will be realized by the authorities, that the government calls, that the government organized, and the government says the results and everything. So it's come back into the pre-democratic times in Mexico. So, it's one conclusion. It's good to have democratic laws and institutions for this, but it's better to have citizenship to exercise and make them work. Well, I think that the alternative, of course, is to attend the context, but in this context, to work near to the communities, to, we say, build citizenships with different tools that I can resume in three matters: to civic education or civic education, to work in reform the law, and to build most powerful institution, autonomous institution. And third, to demand to the governments to respond in the results of the mechanism, the outputs of this mechanism. Thank you. But after that, let me say something at the end. Our friend Klaus showed you the 6 phases of the mechanism until implementation. But we are in this way to think of things. We are working in 7. We need a follow-up tools to the people can know if the things that they decide using this mechanism are working in their reality, and can demand for the authorities to do that. Because maybe in Germany and Switzerland that's not a problem, but in a lot of other countries that's the real problem. Because if you don't have results, when you ask for the people to take in their hands this mechanism to do something that they reject you, because they want to say, what for? Anyway, I am taking part of this, and then the government doesn't matter.